Welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off. Let's kick off with the midfield. I do think, going off of David Ornstein recently, Fabrizio Romano, people like that have said that look, if the United can, the two main priorities for the remainder of the transfer window with the few days that are left, what's there, like 10, 11 days left now? The transfer window, the priorities would be midfielder and then goalkeeper. I think the more time goes on, the goalkeeper situation, I can't see it because the reports are we're going to have to sell to buy in that particular area, and there's no links with any exits on the goalkeeper front. Midfield is a slightly different situation. Obviously, Toby Collier's gone out on loan recently. Maybe that frees up some space in the squad. But obviously, we know that we've been heavily linked with Baleba. That isn't going to materialise unless something absolutely insane happens between now and the end of the window, because Brighton have said that he's not for sale. It's a massive outlay as well. But that seems to be the area of discussion over the last couple of days. Now, one of the players mentioned on there is Lucien Agumi. So Fabrizio Romano has come out saying, I'm not aware of Manchester United opening talks for other midfielders after Baleba yet. Let's see in the coming days. So this was in his article on Give Me Sport, which is interesting because in yesterday's video, if you watch that, I was kind of saying that a lot of the Agume stories were coming out from outlets that were close to Sevilla, and it felt a little bit suspect because nobody of any substance or any credibility or any United links have come out saying anything either way, whether confirming the story, denying the story, or whatever. So Fabrizio Romano's coming out saying he's not aware of us opening talks or anything with any other midfielders, let alone Lucien Agume. So it could be one where it feels a little bit like the Javi Guerra one, and I know some of you have been mentioning him in the comments as a potential future signing in midfield, and that's not a bad shout neither. But we were linked with Javi Guerra. He's now signed a new contract at Valencia, and it felt at the time that the stories being brought out were agent stories to try and get him that new contract, and that turned out to be the case. And there could be something similar with Lucien Agume. I mean, at the time of recording, Fabrizio's got a habit at the moment, whenever I'm uploading the video, he comes out with an update that either confirms or denies what the stories are at the time. So no doubt he'll probably follow that on today. But at the moment, doesn't seem to be there's any movement on Lucien Agume. But there is still time left in the transfer window. I think United are working on the exits. I think we have to get somebody out the door in order to maybe bring someone in or have a push for somebody towards the end of this window. But we'll go through all the exit news in a second. Now, Ben Jacobs also said on the midfield position that Wharton is a dream target for United. However, Eze's departure may mean the door might be shut for Wharton. It's true there's an appreciation there for Morton Hojlund, but they haven't made a bid yet. So that's really interesting from Ben Jacobs, saying Wharton is a dream target for United, because we know there's interest in Baleba because we hadn't made an inquiry. We've had conversations. Yes, we haven't got him, but that's one that we potentially would follow through in the future, potentially next summer. Wharton as well, and there are stories I brought you over the last couple of weeks suggesting that maybe Wharton and Baleba are seen as the dream midfield partnership for United, and I wouldn't be against that as well. I think they could complement each other very, very well in United's midfield. So interesting that Ben Jacobs saying that Wharton is a dream target, but then also saying that Morton Hojlund is appreciated, but we haven't made a bid for him yet. And that might be, again, more the transfer window goes on. Maybe we need to get some cash to still ensure that we've got the money for, Baleba next summer. And then maybe we do go for Hojlund. But yeah, I agree with Ben Jacobs. So I think now that Eze's gone, I think Palace will be very, very reluctant to sell Adam Wharton this late in the transfer window, or it would be very, very expensive for us to do. And I don't think we would have that sort of money available. But interesting that they see him as a dream target. Give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, Ben Jacobs, sticking to the midfield, also said that during discussions between Manchester United and Chelsea regarding Alejandro Garnacho, Andrey Santos has been spoken about. United appreciate him. However, Chelsea don't want to sell. Now, that would be an interesting profile. So if you're going to do swaps with Chelsea, we've mentioned this on previous video. None of this bullshit around Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson and the players that they want to sell anyway. If you're going to do a swap with Garnacho, can we get actually somebody that would help improve the team? I've not watched too much of Andrey Santos, though. But would be an interesting profile to bring in. And obviously, if Ben Jacobs is saying United were in discussions, but we've basically said no, but we'll take Santos for Garnacho, there must be something in that. There must be a player that they appreciate or that they that they rate. That would be that wouldn't be a bad shout to do. But as Ben Jacobs saying, Chelsea don't want to sell. But, the further the transfer window goes on, maybe they could look to do something like that if Chelsea don't, because Chelsea are in a position where they have to sell to buy, so they're trying to sell Nkunku to go for Xavi Simons and sell Nicholas Jackson to maybe go for Garnacho, not necessarily in that order, but they're needing to sell players in order to get the cash in to get Garnacho and Xavi Simons. Maybe if they don't get an exit, maybe we could look to do something with Santos. But give us your thoughts. Let me know what you think of the player. I've not watch too much, don't know too much about the player. I know he's very highly regarded though. But yeah, give us your thoughts. Would that be a good shout, bad shout? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be interested to hear what you've got to say regarding that. And then Ben Jacobs also went on to say, I'm not sure there's a great deal developing. Lucien Agume is available for 25 or 30 million euros. I'm currently not under the impression at this stage anyway that anything is particularly advanced. However, there's 10 days left of the window and it can go from 0 to 100 very quickly. So Ben Jacobs saying that at the moment he's not heard anything neither regarding Lucien Agume, same as Romano, but also not necessarily dismissing it, not suggesting that actually he's basically saying, look, that we could move very quickly. So he wasn't ruling it out, but not confirming the stories coming from the Spanish side where, they were saying that we've started talks with his entourage and, and all of these things that I've been bringing you over the last couple of days. So maybe it's one we need to be a bit reserved on, I would say, the Lucien Agume one. And I'll wait for some more. I want to wait for some more credibility before getting too giddy either way, too excited or too upset that we're not going for him. I just want to wait for a bit more credibility coming out regarding those stories. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, sticking with the midfield, we've got another contender for bullshit transfer story of the window coming up. So, Spanish outlet for Charhez reports that Manchester United are showing interest in Real Madrid star. The club reportedly considering an offer close to 80 million to so 69 million pounds for Camavinga, whose valuation at the Spanish side is in a similar range. However, Real Madrid will only entertain his departure if their demands are met, having communicated via intermediaries that they are seeking for a minimum fee of 80 million euros. I read that in the Manchester Evening News. So according to Facharheads, United are showing interest in Camavinga, who would be available for 80 million euros, so 69 million pounds. I'm going to file that. Facharheads are one of the worst sources of information out there. Like I read another report from them today, conveniently in the Manchester Evening News, that was saying that we've already made a bid for Lucien Agume, which has not been followed through by anybody. They're one of the worst sources of information out there as well. So that is up there with one of the the contenders for bullshit transfer story of the window, alongside when we were linked with Chouameni, Ruiz. Trying to think who else we've been linked with for bullshit transfer story of the window. Definitely Ruiz is on my list. Leao, Chouameni, Vinicius Jr. I think it was Facharheads actually that linked us with Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo as well. They're all on the list for bullshit transfer stories of the window. So we'll file that one straight in the bin. But I mean, as good as he would be. But yeah, I'm not even going to ask for your thoughts because that's just, it's just nonsense. But let's move on. Now, interestingly, this was a really interesting story actually regarding one of our young stars, JJ Gabriel. So Manchester United youngster JJ Gabriel has been told he will train with Ruben Amorim's first team squad at times this season, even though he is too young to be part of the club's FA Youth Cup quest this term. So highly is the youngster rated that technical director Jason Wilcox played an active role in these discussions. He was then invited into the Old Trafford director's box for United's Premier League game against Arsenal the following day in a further sign of a determination to make him feel part of the club. Amorim has now met the youngster at United's Carrington training ground, and that came from Simon Stone. Been hearing a few stories actually over the last couple of days regarding JJ Gabriel. Amorim watching videos and bits on him as well. He's doing very well in the under-18s now as well, 14 years old. He is believed to be somebody that could be our youngest ever first team player that coming into the first team. He is absolutely a fantastic young talent, and teams across the world are looking for him. We had a bit of a fight to keep him at his age as well, because the likes of Barcelona and PSG and all the top clubs around Europe are all looking at this young kid, because he is believed to be the next, like he's been touted as the next Neymar and all of this stuff. I don't necessarily go along with this, but it could definitely be the next, Lamine Yamal. That would be exciting as well. So it looks like United are pulling the red carpets out, doing all they can to make sure that he does not, leave for free. And we end up with egg on our face, where we have one of the, arguably the best young players for his age group around in the world, and then we let him go for free. So it looks like they're, pulling out all the stops. Very, very talented young player as well. So I can't blame the club for trying to keep him neither as well, because he is a very, very exciting, very promising young player who's already like far in advance. Like I said, he's playing for the under-18s and doing well, and he's 14 years old. So he's got a fantastic future ahead of him as well. Hopefully that fantastic future will be at Manchester United. It looks like they're trying to do all they can to keep him training with the first team, and that will be a big deal at 14, 15 years old. That's insane, isn't it? But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, obviously, we know the rest of the transfer window. We're going to need sales. We're going to need to bring money in or create squad space or whatever it is, in order, hopefully, to get something done between now and the transfer window closing. But as we know, and I've been bringing you all summer and more so over the last couple of weeks as well, the exits are just, we've everyone that we want to sell is just waiting for one club, and those clubs are not making moves, and they're rejecting moves to other clubs as well. Very frustrating, and I share your frustration with the exits as well. I don't know what else we're meant to do in this situation, because we couldn't have been more clearer that we want to get rid of these players. And we've got Garnacho saying refusing offers from Bayern Munich to wait to go to Chelsea. We've got Antony refusing offers from like Como and Bayern Leverkusen and other places because he wants to go to Real Betis. And we've got Jadon Sancho who's refusing, Champions League clubs like Chelsea and Juventus because he wants more money. But then no one's offering him the money apart from Turkey. But then he's saying he doesn't want to go to Turkey. Now he's rejecting offers from Roma. It's like, I don't actually know what Jadon Sancho wants. Like, I think it must only be waiting for like a Real Madrid or someone like that to come in, because I don't understand. He's got some good clubs coming in for him as well. But let's run through all the latest there anyway. So let's kick off with Rasmus Højlund. So this is actually one that's developing quite fast, actually. So Napoli has intensified contacts for Rasmus Højlund. They are pushing hard for a loan with an option to buy, confident that the player will give his approval to the offer, also given the possibility of playing in the UEFA Champions League. Now, that came from Damarcio. However, Fabrizio Romano is saying that Rasmus Højlund and his camp have made it clear to Napoli, RB Leipzig, AC Milan and other interested clubs that his preference is a loan move with an option to buy. So Rasmus Højlund is actually okay with a permanent exit now, going off of Fabrizio Romano. What he does not want is a loan with an option to buy, because he wants to have Gary, doesn't want to be part of next season's bomb squad where he's sat around waiting for a club, nobody's coming in for him, etc. And I actually respect Rasmus Højlund for that as well, in the same way that I respect Marcus Rashford for getting his move. He's taken a big pay cut to go to Barcelona, actually done something to get out of the club. All right, it's a shitty deal for us, but we're in the shitty position anyway for Rashford, but it's worked out okay because we're not paying his wages, which is, a help at least for us to, it's helped us this transfer window from PSR for us to be able to go out and buy players, and that is where it's freed up a lot of wiggle room there. And I respect the same for Rasmus Højlund as well, because, he's the one that's actually probably doesn't want to leave. He's a United fan, but has accepted the fact that maybe he has to go, but then also is then saying, well, look, if I go, I go. I don't want to come back. I don't want to be in the bomb squad next season, which actually helps us out as well. So I respect Rasmus Højlund for that, and hopefully he can go away and rebuild his career, because I think there is a player there. I just don't think he's... I think he's been dealt a shit hand at United coming in under the circumstances that he has. I don't think he's helped himself, though, because his performances have been less than, inadequate. He's been absolutely terrible, definitely last season anyway. But I do think there is a prospect player there. Maybe he's not fit for Premier League, because I don't think he's got the physicality to be a Premier League striker, because he was getting bullied left, right and centre by pretty much every team we played against last season. But, you know, in certain leagues, I think he could be a really good young player, or a really good striker. So I wish him all the best if he does leave. So fair play to Rasmus Højlund for that. Simon Stone, though, so his move to AC Milan has not gone through, and that was the reason. So Simon Stone was saying that AC Milan had been keen to sign Hojlund on loan from Manchester United. However, the Denmark forward 22 has stalled on a deal because the structure being negotiated did not include an obligation to buy. Milan have now moved to Boniface with a similar deal, but it is not only set to contain an option to turn the move for the Nigeria into a permanent transfer next summer. So Simon Stone was saying the same thing, that Hojlund rejected the loan offer from AC Milan because he wants somewhere where it's going to be where it's going to turn into a permanent deal. And it does look like Napoli are maybe pushing forward with the deal for him as well. Whether they're going to include an obligation to buy, though, we don't know. Maybe we'll have to maybe accept a little bit lower for an obligation than we would for an option to buy as well. But if it facilitates the exit, and we get him off of because he's not going to, it's going to actually be a PSR loss, I think, from Rasmus Højlund, but it's more gives us maybe some cash, but then also gives us a bit more wiggle room from a PSR perspective as well. Sky Sports were saying, though, however, that Ruben Amorim hasn't closed the door on Højlund staying at United, but the player knows he won't be first choice following Sesko's arrival. So maybe there is a world where if he doesn't get a move, you know, he's not in the bomb squad effectively. I just think they've told him, look, you're not going to get any minutes and we'd like to move you on. And I think he's finally accepted that, but he wants to get a permanent exit away, which credit to him for as well. That's not not a bad thing to want, actually, in my opinion. I wish some other players that we had were thinking more about permanent exits as well, but it is what it is. The latest on Garnacho is that Fabrizio Romano said Chelsea sees value in Garnacho. Let's see what the fee will be. Maybe you can sign the player for 30, 35 or 40 million pounds, but they see a value here. They believe it's a player with a completely different price from what is in the request now from United. Now, that seems to me, from Fabrizio Romano, that Chelsea see Garnacho not necessarily as a player, although he could obviously go there and absolutely ball outright. They see him as a profit maker. I got a funny feeling Chelsea they're gonna look at Garnacho and say, well, we can buy him for 30 and then flip him for maybe 60 in the future. And I genuinely thought, going off of that report from Romano, that's how it comes across to me. I might be misreading the room there, but let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. But that just sounds to me like they just want to flip Garnacho, where they want to buy him cheap and sell him, like they've done with all of their, a lot of their players, a lot of the young players that go there that you've never heard of, that have never made an appearance. All of a sudden they're going for twice the value that they bought them for in the first place, as a way to, manipulate the PSR rules and get around it and worm around that. That's how it feels to me reading that, the latest there from Fabrizio Romano regarding Alejandro Garnacho. But again, apart from that, there's not really been any updates regarding his situation at the time of recording this video. And then let's go through the latest on Jadon Sancho. So as it stands, Jadon Sancho is exploring other options to Roma. No green light for now. So that came from Sky Sports, saying at the moment, no green light to go to Roma. Corriere dello Sport, they were saying that Roma and United have agreed on a €17 million transfer fee for Jadon Sancho. Negotiations continue with Sancho demanding a €6.5 million salary, while Roma aims to lower it to €5.5 million. His entourage's €10 million commission is a hurdle, potentially requiring United to offer a severance package. So, we could be in a position, I'm not going to get angry about that. I think we've always been in a position where we're going to potentially have to pay Sancho off at somewhere along the lines. It's just infuriating. It's just really frustrating that we've got players like that. And that's what we've been battling against. So that is the reason why they're away from the squad. They're not in there, because the mentality and the attitude and the culture at United must be horrendous when you've got attitudes and players and personalities like that around the place that are just not really like... Imagine turning down Juventus, Roma, doesn't want to go to Galatasaray even though they're offering them the money, turn down Chelsea in Champions League football with a decent wage as well. I don't know the reason why, because it's less money than what he's on now, so then that seems like it's about the money, but the Turkish League are offering him the money, but he doesn't want to go to Turkey. I just don't understand. I don't understand the mindset around that, but it is what it is, and we are where we are. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. I'm away now for the weekend, so I will not be doing any updates probably until Monday at the earliest, which is normally a good sign, because when whenever I'm away or I can't do a video for work commitments and stuff as well, normally something happens. So I'm hoping that this weekend something actually happens while I'm away. So I will not be back until Monday. So have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.